So guys, today we are going to look at what's in the latest version of Trump's big bill now before the Senate. So let's look at what could be the reasons as to why it's taking them so damn long to pass this bill through Congress in the first place. So, according to independent.com, what's in the latest versions of Trump's big bill now before the Senate? At some 940 pages, the legislation is sprawling collections of tax breaks, spending cuts, and other Republican priorities, including new money for national defense and deportation. Now it's up to Congress to decide whether President Donald Trump's signature domestic policy package will become law. Trump told Republicans who had majority power in the House and Senate to skip their holiday vacations and deliver the bill by the 4th of July. Senators were working through the weekend to pass the bill and send it back to the House for a final vote. Democrats are united against it. Yep, of course. Well, we all know the real reason why Democrats are united against it. Because, it's going to cut Medicare and it's going to cut Social Security. All this fear mongering stuff that they tend to use all the time in order to get people to vote for them. But apparently, it's not really working. Here's the latest on what's in the bill. There could be changes as lawmakers negotiate tax cuts are the priority. Republicans say the bill is crucial because there would be a massive tax increase after December when tax breaks from Trump's first term expire. So why not wait till his tax breaks from his first term expire after December, and you have at least about 2 months before you introduce the new tax breaks that is a part of this spending bill. The legislation contains roughly 3.8 trillion in tax cuts. The existing tax rates and brackets would become permanent under the bill. It temporarily would add new tax breaks that Trump campaigned on. No taxes on tips, overtime pay, or some automotive loans, along with a bigger $6,000 deduction in the Senate draft for older adults who earn no more than $75,000 a year. It will boost the $2,000 child tax credit to $2,200 under the Senate proposal. Families at lower income levels would not see the full amount. A cap on state and local deductions called SALT tax, basically your SALT tax, would quadruple to 40,000 for 5 years. Its provision important to New York and other high tax states. Though the House wanted to last for 10 years. There are scores of business-related tax cuts. The wealthiest households would see a $12,000 increase from the legislation, which would cost the poorest people $1,600 a year, according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office analysis of the House's version. Middle income taxpayers will see a tax break of $500 to $1,500, the CBO said. Money for deportation and border wall and the Golden Dome. The bill would provide. See, that's probably where he's going to have the biggest problem at. That border wall and the Golden Dome. The border wall and the Golden Dome is probably where he's going to have the most problem with, because that's going to take a lot of money to not only build a border wall, but to turn around and set up the Golden Dome that is pretty much consists of multi-layered missile interceptors and missile detect and rocket launcher detectors and stuff from outer space, yeah, that's probably going to be one of his biggest problems. The bill would provide some 350 billion for Trump's border and national security agenda. Yeah, see that you don't need 350 billion for for border for the border wall. No, national security agenda, including 46 billion for the U.S. Mexico border wall. See, you don't need that, and 45 billion for 100,000 migrant detention facility beds. Okay, now that sounds like now just this part right here. $45 billion for 100,000 migrant detention facility beds. This is exactly why you are supposed to keep your borders closed and secured. Because just reading off of that packet right there, there's no other reason other than for him trying to fix the problem that Joe Biden caused himself for the past 4 years. And so why he needs that much money as he aims to fulfill his promise of the largest mass deportation operation in United States history. Again, this is why you should not have left your border unsecured for 4 doggone years. And you allowed over millions of illegal immigrants to come into the country, because now the next president has to come in and has to not only implement his own policies, but he got to fix what you messed up. And if you mess it up this doggone bad, the way that Joe Biden did, this is costing us money. A lot of it. Money will go for hiring 10,000 new immigration and custom enforcement officers, with 10,000 signing bonuses and a surge of Border Patrol officers as well. The goal is to deport some 1 million people per year. So it looks like y'all won't be. It looks like if Donald Trump succeeds at doing this, at deporting some of 1 million people per year, you may or may not be able. You may or you may not be able to call Obama chief of deportation anymore. But let's go further than that. The Homeland Security Secretary would have a new $10 billion fund for grants for states that help with federal immigration enforcement. Okay. And deportation actions. Okay. The Attorney General would have $3.5 billion for a similar fund known as Bridging Immigration Related Deficits, experienced nationwide, or Biden, referring to a former Democratic President Joe Biden. To help pay for it all, immigrants would face various new fees, including when seeking asylum protection. Did I not? And I wrote this and I typed this down in the new movie script that I was writing, where this guy becomes president, not Trump, not any. This new guy comes in and becomes president. And you know what he did? In order for illegal immigrants to even gain citizenship, they had to have at least saved up about $50,000 in their bank account. meaning it will cost them almost $50,000 to gain citizenship. Now, I don't know if that's the exact fee that they would have to pay, but it seems like to me that they are going to make immigrants pay for citizenship, which they should have done in the first place, including when seeking asylum protection. For the Pentagon, the bill would provide billions for shipbuilding, munition systems, and quality of life measures for servicemen and women, as well as a $25 billion for the development of the Golden Dome missile defense system. That's the defense system we was talking about earlier. The Defense Department would have $1 billion for border security. How to pay for it? Cuts to Medicaid and other programs. Okay. To help partly offset the lost tax revenue and new spending, Republicans aim to cut back on some long-running government programs. Medicaid, food stamps, green energy incentives, and others. It's essentially unraveling the accomplishments of the past two Democratic presidents, Biden and Barack Obama. Now, what do I think about Medicaid cuts? I don't think that they're going to just flat out just going to cut Medicaid completely. I think they might turn around and what it seemed like the most logical way to do is to cut maybe 5%, 5, 10% at the most by each year though. 5, 10% by each year. Not just taking a chunk sum out of it, say like cutting 70% or 80% in Medicaid. Yeah, that would be a bad idea. Yeah, honestly, I think that would be a bad idea. You need to cut less on that. Food stamps, you can cut 50% from that. Green energy incentives, 80%. All others, which I highly think that it's going to include all of these social programs that we don't even necessarily need at all. Republicans argued they are trying to right-size the safety net programs for the population they were initially designed to serve. Remember, they had illegal immigrants on these social programs in some of them states as well too, especially Chicago. Especially Chicago. Mainly pregnant women, the disabled, and children, and root out what they describe as waste, fraud, and abuse. That means like working and able-bodied people like me, you, who can pretty much click on this video and do their own research and come and find my video. Guys like me and you should not be needing food stamps or any other social programs such as Social Security. Now that is what I would agree with. The package includes new 80-hour a month work requirements for many adults receiving Medicaid and food stamps. Well, if you want this, they're basically saying you have to pay into it. You have to invest into your community. You have to do, in order to get food stamps. Now, remember when we read the big beautiful bill and what was in it and what the requirements of it in order for it was to get food stamps, you basically, here in Texas, you already got to show proof of income. But now you're going to have to show proof that you are active within your community. So that means you can volunteer at a food pantry, you can volunteer at a healthcare center, children's daycare center, wherever. But you have to show proof that you are involved within your community, including older people up to age 65. Parents of children 14 and older would have to meet the program's work requirements. In other words, they will have to show proof of income. There's also a proposed new $35 copayment that can be charged to the patients using Medicaid services. Some 80 million people rely on Medicaid, which expanded under Act, and 40 million use the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Most already work according to analysis. Yeah. All told, the CBO estimates that under the House passed bill, at least 10.9 million more people will go without health coverage, and 3 million more will not qualify for food stamps. Okay, why do y'all want to be on government social programs so bad? The Senate proposes a $25 billion rural hospital transformation fund to help offset reduced Medicaid dollars. It's a new addition intended to win over holdout GOP senators and a coalition of House Republicans, warning that the proposed Medicaid provider tax cuts would hurt rural hospitals. Both the House and Senate bills propose a dramatic rollback of the Biden-era green energy tax breaks for electric vehicles, the EV mandate that Elon Musk thought he was going to get. They also would phase out or terminate the various productions and investment tax credits companies use to stand up wind, solar, and other renewable energy projects. In total cuts, the Medicaid, food stamps, and green energy programs would be expected to produce at least $1.5 trillion in savings. Trump saving accounts, and so on and so much more. A number of extra provisions reflect other GOP priorities. The House and Senate both have new children's savings program called Trump Accounts, with a potential $1,000 deposit from the Treasury. The Senate provided $40 million to establish Trump's long-sought National Garden of American Heroes. There's a new excise tax on university endowments, restrictions on the development of artificial intelligence, and blocks on transgender surgeries, a $200 tax on gun silencers, and short-barreled rifles and shotguns was eliminated. One provision bars money to family planning providers, namely Planned Parenthood, while $88 million is earmarked for a pandemic response accountability committee. Billions will go far for the Artemis moon mission and for exploration to Mars. The bill would deter states from regulating artificial intelligence by leaking certain federal AI infrastructure money to maintaining a freeze. 17 Republican governors asked GOP leaders to drop the provision. Also, the Interior Secretary would be directed to sell certain Bureau of Land Management acres to provide for housing. The sale of public lands would cover at least 600,000 acres and up to 1.2 million acres, according to a projection from the Center of Western Priorities, a conservation group. What's the final cost? Altogether, keeping the existing tax breaks and adding the new ones is expected to cost 3.8 trillion over the decade. The CBO says in its analysis of the House bill, an analysis of the Senate draft is pending. Under the GOP view, the tax provision costs 441 billion, according to Congressional Joint Committee on Taxations. Democrats and others says this is magic math that obscures the true costs of GOP tax break. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget puts the Senate tally at 4.2 trillion over the decade. So, what we just read doesn't really sound, it doesn't sound bad. It does not really sound bad. If all of you going to sit there and worry about cuts from Medicaid, cuts from food stamps, that is the biggest problem right there that we are having. You shouldn't be you should not want to be tied to the government for the rest of your entire life. I don't get food stamps. I have to show proof of income in order to get them in the state that I live in. So them cutting food stamps for me, it's not gonna hurt. But I do know other people who are on food stamps. And I can understand how those people are feeling about it. But I also understand that those people don't necessarily want to work either. So that's another thing. But for me, because I don't even get any of these things and I'm not even eligible for any of these things, it's not really hurting me per se. Them cutting Medicaid, in which I have plenty of Medicaid cards, plenty of ways of having my health care funded. I mean, I even turn around and you had a doggone job where you can enroll in health care using the healthcare provider. But that's neither here nor there. When we're talking about food stamps, I'm not on food stamps. I don't have my own food stamp card. I'm not even eligible to get that in the first place. So them cutting food stamps, not a big deal to me. Them cutting food stamps, not a big deal to me. You want to talk about women being a part of those cuts? Listen, there's women out here who are not on food stamps and they're making it work. So can you. So that's literally what's been going on with the entire big beautiful bill and why it's taking them so long to pass it through. But we can honestly just go ahead and let's cut that screen off. So yeah, that is what I think of it. That is what I think of that. That is essentially what I think of it. You know, because it doesn't necessarily seem like it's what the Democrats will always say. Oh, they're going to cut Medicaid. They're going to cut from Medicaid. They're going to cut from Social Security. They're going to cut from Social Security. They're going to do all these things. You're going to lose your rights. And you know, what has happened pretty much right now is that Democrats done forced the full reading of Trump's Big Beautiful Bill. And that's the only thing that they can do is force everybody to read the Big Beautiful Bill thoroughly. Because what is that going to do? They're still going to turn around and cry about it cutting from Medicaid, cutting from Social Security and food stamps. They're still going to cry about it anyways. But now let's go ahead and let's watch this clip right here.
Let's bring in New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. She is on the House Ways and Means Committee.
Now let's go ahead and let's watch this clip right here.
Congresswoman, are you sitting by your phone? Because it's our understanding the members of the House are supposed to be getting a conference call this hour about the Senate's developments on the so-called Big Beautiful Bill.
Yes, well, of course I have it on mute, so you can't hear it, but it's going. Would love to sit and listen to the call, but to be honest with you, we've been tracking this bill for so long and so many months and working on this original product from the Ways and Means Committee, which is the primary jurisdiction of this bill, along with the Energy and Commerce Committee, and 11 total committees were involved in creation of this. So we're very, very tuned in to every little nuance that gets changed or in or out. So we've been tracking that, with my staff all through the night last night and seeing what the Senate changes are. So this isn't something that's going to come as a surprise. So when Chuck Schumer says read the whole bill, that's just a stalling tactic. Members and staff have been poring over every provision for so long. And look, I got to be honest with you, it doesn't have everything I want in it, and it's not perfect. No bill I've ever voted on has been perfect. And we do need to find the relief we can immediately to President Trump. That President Trump is requesting so the American people have immediate relief. We see these tax cuts stay in place. We see immediate relief to our border with giving resources to them, bolstering our military, unleashing American energy. All these things are critically important, and they have to happen yesterday. And that's why President Trump is so determined to make sure we get something on the books as soon as possible. And it's not going to be perfect, but guess what we have? Another chance to do reconciliation. We can also do other bills that we can add in some of the things that may have not been added in this bill through this process. So look, this is a very important piece of legislation that is going to be a colossal change and a colossal help to the American people.
Are there changes the Senate is making that you think are going to be problems for the House?
Well, of course, there's certain provisions that I've seen some floor speeches and some social media posts by a number of people that are either on the sort of right wing of the Republican Party and people sort of in the moderate left wing of the Republican Party, because there's not a single Democrat that is going to support this and vote for it, not because they don't agree with some of the provisions, because many of the Ways and Means provisions in this bill are actually bipartisan, but because they do not want to vote for anything that looks like it's signatured President Trump and some of his policies. Typically things like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, those things would definitely be part of the Democrats' agenda, but President Trump knows those are important, and now those are included in this bill. We couldn't put reducing taxes or eliminating taxes on Social Security because, again, the problematic parliamentarian won't let us do that. So what have we done? We've worked around and used this language to reduce taxes and target people we know are on Social Security and make sure they get a tax cut and tax relief, because we know that the 4 years of Bidenflation and other increases, the increase in energy prices and everything else has hurt seniors. So we're going to give them a break, especially the most needy out there. So there's a lot of really good things in the bill that are still there. Some things have been changed, some things have been added. But I think in the end, we're going to have a product that's going to be compromised, but we have a lot of time left to continue to do even more than we can do on the second bill.
Let's talk about another issue that's roiling Washington right now, and that is the aftermath of the strikes on Iran a week ago. The White House says it's going to limit the classified information that it delivers to lawmakers now because of that leak of info on the assessment, the bomb damage assessment on the Iranian strike. What do you think about that? Is the president, is the administration being too cautious here, or is that appropriate, do you think?
Look, I understand the president's concern, but the House of Representatives and the Senate, we have oversight over many of these things. I serve on the House Intelligence Committee, and we have oversight over the intelligence community, and that's something that we need to have done. What we need to do is hold people accountable who leak classified information that put our nation at risk. And I think accountability to people, including members of Congress, members of the intelligence community who do this, put the American people at risk, and they should be held accountable. We should have referrals that go directly to the FBI and the Department of Justice, and make sure we hold people accountable to minimize this risk. I don't agree that you need to take away the ability to look at these things by the people that have oversight over them.
Is it clear to you that the leak came from a member of the House or the Senate?
I really don't know what's happening with that and who is, and I obviously can't say what I would know because I serve on the committee. But we need to investigate and look into this and make sure we find out if, in fact, there was a leak, who leaked it, and hold that person accountable or those people.
All right. New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, busy times in Washington. We appreciate you taking time out from the phone call to talk to us today.
Thanks so much, John. Appreciate it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe.
Yeah, see, now you heard that. Now let's go to this next clip. Let's go to this next clip.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jason Chaffetz, along with Molly Line, Madison Allworth, and David Webb, and welcome to the Big Weekend Show. The big story tonight, senators are on Capitol Hill tonight waiting to vote on a motion to debate President Trump's big, beautiful bill. Before the Senate can officially vote on the bill, Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is forcing the Senate clerk to read the entire bill on the floor. The White House is warning Senate Republicans that failure to pass the bill would be, quote, ultimate betrayal. Trump is hoping to have the budget bill on his desk by July 4th. And Senator Mike Rounds, he thinks they can hit the deadline.
I think the motion to proceed should be successful. I believe that we have the votes. Most of the members will always kind of share with leadership what their plan is. And right now, I think it's going to be really tight, but I think we'll move to the bill.
That motion to proceed should be the easy part. The deadline may seem ambitious, but if Trump keeps up this week's winning streak, including an Israel-Iran ceasefire, a SCOTUS ruling keeping district courts out of his deportation business, and a near record high for the stock market. Well, it just might happen. In fact, it should. But first, he has to convince Republican senator holdouts to get in line and pass the bill. Here's what one of them had to say today.
We shouldn't take the Nancy Pelosi approach and pass this bill to find out what's in it. We need to know exactly what's in it. By the way, we need to have a debate. Do we really need that additional tax credit when we're $37 trillion in debt? Let's have that discussion. This is a big bill. This is an important bill. There's no need to rush it.
Important indeed. If passed, the bill would be the largest tax cut in history. Madeline Rivera is live at the White House with the latest on where things stand right now. Maddie.
Hey, Jason. The president decided to stay in D.C. this weekend to keep putting pressure on some of the GOP holdouts, and he has been speaking with Republican lawmakers. The president was in Virginia today golfing with Senators Lindsey Graham, Eric Schmidt, Rand Paul, and CIA Director John Ratcliffe. We should know that Graham and Schmidt are not some of the GOP holdouts. Paul, though, has said he is voting no on the bill unless Republicans remove the debt ceiling hike in the bill. Senator Thom Tillis also has a new statement out sharing why he's rejecting the bill. For now, he's taking issue with the Medicaid provisions. He says this will force the state to make painful decisions like eliminating Medicaid coverage for hundreds of thousands in the expansion population and even reducing critical services for those in the traditional Medicaid population. Elon Musk is weighing in as well, saying the latest Senate draft bill will destroy millions of jobs in America and cause immense strategic harm to our country. It is hard to overstate how crucial this moment is for the president's agenda. You laid it right there, Jason. This bill includes extension of the Trump tax cuts and more money for border security and defense spending. But the president is appearing to acknowledge the rocky road ahead. He now says July 4th is not a hard and fast deadline.
It's important. It's not the end all. It's taking longer, but we'd like to get it done by that time, if possible. Look, we have a lot of very committed people, and they feel very strongly about subjects that you're not even thinking about that are important to Republicans.
So while the president has been speaking with GOP lawmakers, he has reportedly not begun the process of whipping individual votes. So certainly a lot to watch out for this weekend. Jason, back to you.
Maddie, thank you so much.
You got it.
As the Republicans rush to pass the big, beautiful bill, the left continues to freak out over the president's economic plan and its success.
To sum up Trump's economic agenda, it's chaos and pain for the middle class and even more profits for the powerful.
The wealthier are going to get a giant tax cut. The middle class basically get nothing, about $500 a year, less than 1% of their income.
You can't get past how working class people are going to take it on the chin from this bill, and all for a bunch of billionaires who already have more money than they can count.
But working class Americans are loving Trump's plan.
It's like I'm getting all my money. I mean, when you tax my tips, it's almost like I'm not getting like 2 out of my 10 tips. So it's like I'm actually getting the money that I worked hard for.
Personally, it means saving several $1,000s. Tips are a huge part of what we bring in as drivers.
No tax and overtime pay policy is a clear message of respect and support to our nation's law enforcement officers.
According to a new study from the Tax Foundation, the middle class is set to benefit the most from the legislation. And the economy is in great shape. U.S. stocks surged to a big finish, with the NASDAQ and S&P 500 hitting all-time highs and closing in on record territory. Gas prices are at a 4-year low as the summer kicks into full gear. And inflation has cooled since Trump took office. Things are only going to get better if the GOP can get the big, beautiful bill over the finish line, which would be the largest tax cut in.
And just so you guys, just so there's a reminder, right? When Trump hit China with tariffs and hit everybody else with tariffs, and the stock market went down, who was the main people that was going crazy? when you literally heard that he was messing up the economy. When the stock market went down, So yeah. Hold on.
Deadline.
It's important. It's not the end all. It's taking longer, but we'd like to get it done by that time if possible. Look, we have a lot of very committed people and they feel very strongly about subjects that you're not even thinking about that are important to Republicans.
So while the president has been speaking with GOP lawmakers, he has reportedly not begun the process of whipping individual votes. So certainly a lot to watch out for this weekend. Jason, back to you.
Maddie, thank you so much.
You got it.
As Republicans rush to pass the big, beautiful bill, the left continues to freak out over the president's economic plan and its success.
To sum up Trump's economic agenda, it's chaos and pain for the middle class and even more profits for the powerful.
The wealthy are going to get a giant tax cut. The middle class basically get nothing, about $500 a year, less than 1% of their income.
You can't get past how working class people are going to take it on the chin from this bill, and all for a bunch of billionaires who already have more money than they can count.
But working class Americans are loving Trump's plan.
It's like I'm getting all my money. I mean, when you tax my tips, it's almost like I'm not getting like 2 out of my 10 tips. So it's like I'm actually getting the money that I worked hard for.
Personally, it means saving several $1,000s. Tips are a huge part of what we bring in as drivers.
No tax and overtime pay policy is a clear message of respect and support to our nation's law enforcement officers.
According to a new study from the Tax Foundation, the middle class is set to benefit the most from the legislation, and the economy is in great shape. U.S. stocks surged to a big finish, with the NASDAQ and S&P 500 hitting all-time highs and closing in on record territory. Gas prices are at a 4-year low as summer kicks into full gear, and inflation has cooled since Trump took office. Things are only going to get better if the GOP can get the big, beautiful bill over the finish line, which would be the largest tax cut in history and would root out Obamacare and Medicare waste, fraud, and abuse. All right, Madison, you follow the markets closely. There's some, I find, just outright lies coming from the Democrats trying to categorize this on a bumper sticker and say, oh, it's going to be terrible.
Yeah, I mean, the spin is remarkable because when you look at how the economy did this week and when you look at the elements of the bill, you see how much it does for the middle class. I mean, as we noted and we heard from Americans, when you look at those that are making tips and are doing overtime, that's not the upper class. That is the middle class, and those are set to benefit. Just look at the stock market this week, right? Record highs. And this is when we had, coming off of an Iran bombing, when we're debating the big, beautiful bill, all of this is happening and the markets are still strong. It does take some time for Wall Street to make it to Main Street. But it's a good signal when there is confidence in the market like that, especially with the big, beautiful bill on the horizon.
There is a lot in this bill. You know, I heard one of the senators say, oh, we need to debate it. Well, they are going to debate it. It's 10 hours of debate on each side. So there is plenty to debate there. But this is also the time where bumper sticker politics tries to prevail. They try to scare people with one sentence, and it's really not a good representation.
A couple things here that people aren't paying attention to is that the bill is one anchor to something that's much bigger, including the TCJA being made permanent and other effects. I want to go to the 10-year budget window because this is the short-sightedness of politicians and bumper sticker slogans. I don't disagree with Johnson on wanting deeper cuts. I'm a Tea Party guy. I want even more. You know that. Yeah. You went in that era. When you look at the 10-year budget window and you look at $8.5 to $11.1 trillion over a 10-year budget. That's the Council of Economic Advisors projection on this. And I interviewed Stephen Mirren, the chair on this week, in detail. You're talking about a total deficit offsetting. That's significant over 10 years. When you go to the debt to GDP ratio, with the TCJA in place permanently with other factors in place, in this bill, you talk about 94% debt to GDP ratio. Without it, you go to 117%. So if you really want to tackle debt and long-term structural problems, this is one anchor when you combine it with waste, fraud, and abuse being removed, efficiencies being put into government, which brings down costs like administrative costs that are one of the highest factors. When you start adding that all together, this is part of a pro-growth strategy, including the money that will come in from tariffs, hundreds of billions, trillions of overseas investment coming into the country, and long-term stability in manufacturing, whether it's chips or whether it's delivering energy.
You mentioned tariffs. Molly, I want you to listen to what President Trump had to say and then get your reaction on the other side of it.
A leading global economist just did a 180 and says your tariff plan, you may have outsmarted everybody with it. What is your message to critics who think your tariff plan caused a recession?
I think they should go back to business school. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. I mean, we're taking in billions and billions of dollars from China and a lot of other countries.
When I see that, I think about what we're expecting in the weeks to come, not just in this bill. We'll see if this bill becomes another victory for the president. He's had quite a few this week, but we're expected to hear about some of these trade deals that have worked out in the next couple of weeks, in the next month or so. So we'll see what that does, and then we'll really be talking about the market. And the other thing that I was thinking about was how Canada is now in this snafu, this trade snafu, and might be left out in the cold as all of these other deals get worked out. And then as we're watching the big bill, it's actually coming down to, as Chad Pergram talks so often about the math, the GOP can only lose about 3. And right now they're still working on those 3. Yeah. And the president's working that front. You know, he was out there on the golf course with Senator Paul today. And apparently Chad Pergram's saying there's also a question mark there. There's Senator Collins up in Maine. She's got some things that she wants. So there's still a big discussion there going on. We'll see if she gets the amendments that she wants to see.
Oh, it's how the sausage is made.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube.
Yeah, so you see, and now you heard all of that. So I like to hear what you guys think about the big, beautiful bill. And other than that, like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, see you later.